a very good evening. Welcome to the News Focus tonight, live and direct from our studios here on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. It's wonderful being with you tonight. We're going to dive into various stories that has made headline across the country. An interesting one that awaits us has to do with Ayawaso East by-election. Voting has ended. Counting is underway. Baba Jamal, the NDC candidate, has won the by-election according to provisional results. The National Petroleum Authority has assured Ghanaians Thai Ghana has over 5 weeks of fuel in stock amidst the Middle East tension, but COPEC warns of imminent price hike. Now let's move on to Wale MP Thai Abdur Kabiru Mahama criticized government decision to resume domestic bond issuance, citing concerns over debt accumulation. The Ghana Police Service has deployed personnel to ensure peaceful Ayawaso by-elections. Those are some top stories. In other stories, the Black Queens, the Queens beat Russia 4-0 in the Pink Ladies Cup. Ghana's national team has chosen Province as its base for the 2026 World Cup. The Queens did well. Government launches the National Early Childhood Care and Development Policy. A Pediatrics Next speaks on the emotional toll of public criticism. Ghana's tuna industry secures global MSC certification. Olam Agri launches a healthy baker campaign. This and many more stories coming your way tonight in Focus. I'll bring you all the latest story and the latest news stories across the country. You can also join us on 0537158638. It's the numbers on your screen. And when you join us, you share your thoughts on any of the stories that we'll be talking about in tonight. But let's do this. Let's go to our first place of call. I love to do it in a way today where over 541 appointments under a Akufo-Addo government revoked to uphold due process. They have been what? Revoked. Ajiame no chumwomi ahwiame ona boni nchon ahwiame wa sack one fantinyu beka we you on edi ama me chena we you on edi what's one coffee was say bye ama me say am ye do am make my boss no head and bye. All right. Government has revoked 541 last-minute appointments made by the previous Akufo-Addo administration, citing failures to comply with due process, according to Felix Kwakye Ofosu, the Minister of State in charge of government communications. These appointments were made after the December 7, 2024 general elections and didn't meet required compliance standards. A committee set up to investigate this appointment, review 2,080 cases and upheld 1,539, which has been processed before the elections and met an 80% compliance threshold. The revoked appointments were part of a broader review aimed at ensuring accountability and transparency in the public sector recruitment. Government has initially proposed a joint review of this appointment with the previous administration, but this was ignored. Kwakye Ofosu emphasized that the revocation was not politically motivated but necessary to uphold the rule of law. Let's go and listen to the man who speaks for government, Kwakye Ofosu Felix.
1st March 2025 to 30th April 2025. It received 43 reports from institutions and individual petitioners. Of the 43 institutions, 36 appeared before the committee. At the end of its work, the committee made the following findings. 1. Of the 36 institutions that appeared before it, 28 had commenced the recruitment processes before the 7th December elections. 2, a total of 13 institutions revoked appointments made in a response to the 7th of December 2024 revocation directive. 17 institutions did not revoke their appointments but sought guidance from the office of the president. 16 of the cases reported by the institutions were mainly payroll related. In total, there were 2,080 recruitments, appointments, and promotions that were reported by institutions when they appeared before the committee. Now, out of the 2,080 recruitments, appointments, and promotions, 879 were revoked by the institutions themselves, while 1,201 appointments were left unrevoked. After the hearings, the committee recommended that 1,539 of the recruitments, appointments, and promotions be upheld because they complied with the prescribed recruitment and promotion procedures and received appointment letters before 7 December 2024. And this also implies that they achieved a pass mark of above 80%. The committee recommended, however, that the recruitments, appointments, and promotions of 541 persons be revoked because the recruitment processes ended after 7 December 2024 and failed to meet the pass mark. In other words, they also did not comply with the processes and guidelines slated or designed to govern that process. Also, the number of recruitments, appointments, and promotions recommended for revocation by the committee was lower than the number that the institutions themselves revoked in the wake of the Chief of Staff's directive. As I indicated, the number was 879 in all. That's the number of recruitments, promotions, and appointments that were revoked. Now, this differential is because the committee paid special attention to vulnerable groups, including persons with disabilities, particularly within the Ghana Education Service. There were some of our compatriots who suffered some disability, but we found that their recruitments should be revoked because it did not comply with the laid down process. But because of their peculiar situation and the hardship that could be imposed upon them if we were to be within the public service and earn an income.
So that was the man of Felix Kwakye Ofosu as to why those appointments were revoked, and you heard him, and he speaks for government. He's a government communications person, and he runs the show from the government perspective, and he's giving us up to speed, up to date on the issues that pertains to who really is qualified to be there. So 514 are gone. Meanwhile, Alex Anafenyo-Markin has been referred to the Privileges Committee over security recruitment allegation. The First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Bernard Ahiafo, has referred the Minority Leader, Alex Anafenyo-Markin, to the Privileges Committee. This follows a former complaint by the Interior Minister, Mutaka Mohamed Mubarak, who cited the lawmaker for contempt. The referral comes after the Minority Leader allegedly described the ongoing security recruitment exercise as a scam, claiming it imposes heavy financial burdens on an applicant through a third-party IT firm. Speaking on the floor of Parliament on Tuesday, the Interior Minister says the Minority Leader allegedly maligned the ongoing security recruitment exercise by describing it as a scam. On Friday, during the State of the Nation's address, the Minority Leader got up and said categorically that the current internal security recruitment is scandalous. He claimed corruption is looming and people will go to prison. Based on our standing orders 31E and F, and that is contentious, the appropriate place to substantiate such claims is before the Privileges Committee, where he will have ample time to present his allegation and we can meet him with the facts. In response, Mr. Afenyo-Markin welcomed the referral but called for a public hearing as part of the investigation. He said he was ready to appear before the committee to clarify his statement. Honorable Minister, that was what he said. We'll try to get to the insight on that story. Now, away from the alleged unfair markings on the floor of Parliament that is being cited for contempt and referred to the Privileges Committee, we move to Ayawaso, where the Ghana Police Service says it is confident its security deployment for the Ayawaso East by-election is sufficient to address the eventuality as the process moves into the final stage. Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, Deputy Commissioner of Police DCOP Grace Ansa Akrofi, gave the assurance after the closure of polls today, Tuesday, March 3rd. She disclosed that the Inspector General of Police has personally monitored the elections on the ground to ensure that the security measures put in place were functioning as planned. Away from that, we look at some other story, and this time around, 9 individuals, 9 arrested. 9 public officers have been arrested and granted police inquiry bail following interception of a container loaded with large quantity of undeclared tramadol at the Tema port. Those arrests include 5 custom officers, 1 officer from the Narcotics Control Commission, 1 port security officer, 1 energy commission officer, and 1 standard authority officer. The arrests, the shipment originated from the United Arab Emirates, was declared to contain assorted household items, including water kettles, kitchen blenders, pressing irons, energy-saving bulbs, and polythene materials. However, a joint re-examination conducted on March 1st by custom officers and the Central Revenue Monitoring Team revealed concealed quantities of tramadol tablets inside among the declared goods. 053-715-8638 is the numbers you can join us as we have this conversation together. Now let's move to one other story and tonight in focus. Before the Accra High Court has dismissed application by Democracy Hub seeking to stop the Ayawaso East by-election, clearing the way for NDC candidate Baba Jamal. The man who contested and won provisional results shows Baba Jamal has won the Ayawaso East. The court ruled that application was incompetent on holding the NDC parliamentary objection. That process adopted by Democracy Hub. Justice Ejeni Mwatan dismissed the suit, citing lack of jurisdiction and improper procedure. Democracy Hub has alleged vote buying in the NDC primaries, but the court did not consider the merits of the allegation. The Electoral Commission went ahead today to run it. But let's go to the court and take a listen to the judgment.
I think that I have always believed that, our courts stand at the junction of the health of our democracy. And I must commend the judge for the painstaking arguments when we appeared before the court, I think last Thursday or Friday, that we had ample time. We argued it back and forth. The court was interested, several questions. And so I'm not surprised that the court has reached such a rich decision. It's not every time that the court doesn't agree with you that you cannot appreciate the reasoning of how the judge got to that point. And we're also grateful for the court for understanding the public interest in the matter and why citizens must continue to bring such actions. And so we're grateful.
Had cases of vote buying throughout the years. I mean, Ghana's elections have been riddled with vote buying. Why were you interested to take this one up and not the previous ones?
So it's true that our elections have been consistently plagued by questions of vote buying and voter inducement, and I say that it's a question of you're looking for the test case at some point. We have normalized it at some point that we decided that this is going to be the test case to push this conversation and seek proper legal reforms, and so that's what we have decided to do. So it's not a question that we don't feel as aggrieved by the others, but that they must.
Rashid. Okay, be here. You will not go. Let's finish. So essentially, the court is saying that the election should proceed. Your counter request was upheld. Yeah. Share with us what exactly were your requests to the courts, and which one was granted?
I think the learning at the bar is that where the law has laid down a certain procedure that is to be followed for an action to commence, only that procedure shall be followed. In this action, Democracy Hub is basically asking the court to quash the decision of the EC declaring the NDC candidate as a winner because of the issues of vote buying and others that we all noticed in the videos that went round. So basically, that is a request to the court to quash an administrative action. Okay? And that's asking that it's basically going to the court for a request of certiorari. And per our rules and per our learning, to go for such requests, you must go with an originating motion. But in this case, he came with a writ action. So we came to the court asking the court that the commencement procedure is wrong ab initio, and as such, the whole action must be thrown out. That's why you listen to the judge in his analysis. He was clear that where the procedure is laid down that this is what must be done, only that must be done. And the interest of the people. What is the interest of the people in this matter? So you realize that the judge took his time to analyze the concept of capacity and how to sustain an action. And he said that where capacity is wrong from the beginning, every other thing collapses. You don't even have to go into anything to look at what is actually happening. So basically, this is our request to the court, and we are happy that the court has ruled in our favor and has set the action aside. What this means is that the election that is slated for tomorrow can proceed without any issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We are grateful to the court. In fact, we are so much grateful. See, we have worked a lot in the constituency. As we speak now, we are just in the final stage, preparing to do our deployment, final deployment for tomorrow. So this comes as a relief to us, because we know we are winning tomorrow. We are going to win with massive victory, and the gap is going to be wide. So we're praying that we shall have victory today, so that all that we have worked over the period, the 3 weeks we've been in the constituency, will not come to now. Thankfully, our lawyers have done a very good job. We have to congratulate them for putting up a spirited fight to make sure that this brigade has been dismissed, to pave way for us to have the election. We are grateful to the court and our lawyers as well.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, as a party, moving on, what measures are you putting in place to make sure the issues that for which reason you came to court in the first place are not repeated?
Well, we have already set up a committee to come out with implementable recommendations. I meant now we have a 7-man committee dealing with the matter. And so we have already put in action, in motion, to deal with matters of that nature. And then, so therefore, as a political party, that's why I'm saying the NDC is the best political party that you can see as of now in Ghana. Because we are facing it head on. Such an issue. We know it's a big issue in politics as of now. But it is only NDC who is facing it, trying to resolve the matter. Our opponents have incorporated that action into their own life. And they are the people who are destroying our democracy. While NDC is trying to sanitize it, they are destroying it. And so we are facing it, and we are going to resolve that matter.
What steps will you take to stop them from incorporating that into the system?
Well, that's why the media is there. The media is there. You have to continue to expose them. We just saw it in their 31st January election. What they did over there is an institutional matter in their party. They don't care.
So that's where we went to the court, and we're back in our studios, and you had a verdict that paved the way for today's Ayawaso East by-election that was heard as we speak, coming into the studios. The NDC, Baba Jamal, is leading with 63.56%, followed by the MPP, Baba Ali with 23.2%, with 110 polling station already accounted. Now let's move on and look at some other matters. And then straight away we go to the floor of Parliament, where the minority in Parliament is set to introduce the Public Financial Management, that's Amendment Bill 2026. The bill aimed at strengthening fiscal discipline and improving accountability in public expenditure. The bill, nicknamed No Plan, No Cash Bill. No Plan, No Cash. The bill seeks to ensure that government projects are aligned with national development priorities approved by the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC. The key provisions of the bill include making the NDPC approve development plans, the mandatory basis for preparing the annual budget, requiring publication of annual progress report before issuing expenditure warrants, preventing the Minister of Finance from releasing funds for projects not certified by the NDPC except in emergencies. The goal is to curb unplanned and discriminatory spending. Discretionary spending, promote transparency and ensure public funds are used effectively. Now the question you ask yourself is, what implication will this bill have on Ghana's fiscal management if passed? If passed, the PFM amendment bill is expected to enhance fiscal discipline by linking spending to approved development plans, improve transparency and accountability in public expenditure, reduce discretionary and unplanned spending, promote alignment of government projects with national priorities, and potentially improve Ghana's fiscal and sustainability and credibility with international partners. The bill success depends on effective implementation and institutionalize a capacity to enforce compliance. So those are the bills. So let's go to the floor of let's listen to the presser by the minority.
Our committee, the Committee on the Economy and Development, the nickname we've given to this bill is the No Plan, No Cash bill. No plan, no cash. If it's not in the plan, you won't get any cash. And the specific loophole it seeks to close is that today there's room for ministries, departments, and agencies and metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies to embark on projects or programs which are not exactly emergency projects or programs, but projects or programs that are as though they are part of their normal work, except that they have not been certified under the National Development Planning Commission's plan, which they would have received from the ministries, departments, and agencies. And so this amendment seeks to deny the Ministry of Finance the opportunity to fund such projects and programs. This is separate from contingencies or emergencies that may come up. But for regular programs and projects that have not been included in the strategic plan of the MMDA or the MDA to get certification, the object of this amendment bill is to deny funding for it until such a time that it is thought of, captured, and certified as part of the National Development Planning Commission's program. The reason is that also from our experience in government and looking at the loopholes that exist today, there is room and there is a practice where a lot of money is spent on projects that are deemed important by the heads of these institutions, but these projects have not been included in the strategic plan and certified by the NDPC. Our hope is that we will find the best way to close this loophole so that every cedi that is spent of our limited resources is in pursuance of the National Development Plan, which would have been certified by the NDPC.
The NDPC's role is critical here, but I hope, honorable members who are here, my dream is that one day we'll get to a point where this National Development Planning Commission is really a technical commission that we all hope it should be, devoid of all the politics around it. How do we get to a point where, you know, any government that comes into power can work with the commission that exists? Then we can have continuity. The politics of this, because I know it's going to take away some powers. And many years ago, we tried in this country to help Parliament to set up the Parliamentary Budget Office. And that was when Speaker was majority leader. A bill was prepared, it was taken to cabinet, but there were feelings that some of the powers of the Minister of Finance were going to be curtailed. And here I see things like Common Fund, the administrator, the Ministry of Finance. I hope maybe there have already been some behind the scenes engagement to make sure that we deal with this politics.
By amending the PFM Act, the bill would, among other things, make development plans duly approved by the NDPC the mandatory basis for the preparation of the annual budget. It also requires publication of annual progress reports as a precondition for the inclusion of estimates in the budget and for the issuance of expenditure warrants. It seeks to empower the Minister for Finance to withhold funding from non-compliant entities. And it also seeks to ensure that releases from the DACF is tied to NDPC approved plans and progress reporting. The ultimate objective, therefore, is to enrich a disciplined, coherent, and accountable public financial management regime in which planning precedes budget.
So that was the prayer by the minority in Parliament, also introducing the private member bill on the PFM. We'll still go to the floor of Parliament. This time around, the minority fires back at Mahama's State of the Nation's address. But before we take that, let's pick some other stories that has made headline throughout the day. 16 people have lost their life in a crash. 16 are dead in accident involving ambulance and a Ford Transit at the Pottery Chrome in the Ashanti region. At least the 16 are feared dead following a devastating head-on collision between an ambulance and a Ford Transit bus at the Pottery Chrome in the Ahafo South East District of the Ashanti region. According to eyewitness account, the Ford Transit with registration number GT 657619 was transporting passengers from Kumasi to Bachem when it collided head-on with an ambulance with registration number GV 52723, which was reportedly traveling from the opposite direction. The impact of the crash, reportedly caused by the excessive speed, left both vehicles mingled beyond recognition. The majority of passengers on board on the Ford Transit are believed to have perished instantly due to the severity of the collision. An eyewitness, Kwabena Stephen, described the scene as horrifying, stating that some of their bodies were severely dismembered and had to be placed in polythene bags and sacks. Other eyewitnesses who alleged that the ambulance, believed to belong to the St. Mary Catholic Hospital at Drobo, was overtaking another vehicle when the crash occurred. In a social media post, Ashanti Regional Minister Dr. Frank Amwakohene said his deepest condolences go to their families. Now let's go back to the floor of Parliament, where the minority led by Alex Anafenyo Marcus has strongly reacted to the President John Dramani Mahama 2026 State of the Nation's address SONA, describing it as lacking substance and failing to address pressing issues facing Ghanaians. During the SONA, the President Mahama highlighted economic progress, including a primary surplus of 2.6% and a fiscal deficit of 3.1%, attributing these gains to prudent management. However, the minority leader argued that the President failed to credit the previous administration for recent economic gains, specifically referencing the gold for reserves policy conceptualized by the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The minority caucus also protested during the SONA, banishing cocoa pods and wearing black lashes to symbolize their dissatisfaction with government economic policies, particularly reduction in the cocoa producer price. Let's go back to the floor of Parliament and listen and watch that minority leader, Alex Anafenyo Marcus.
The price of cocoa per bag, making the poor cocoa farmer worse off. They claim that there were some international market downturns. Therefore, the poor cocoa farmer should suffer for it. But it's the reason why the state has reserves. It's the reason why we have a country called Ghana. That when there is crisis, the state must intervene. What the government has failed to tell us is how much it will cost the country should the cocoa farmer be given support by maintaining the 3,600 per bag of cocoa. They didn't tell us. They rather reduced the price, gave a haircut, and today Mr. President could not offer any reasonable explanation. Neither could he give a justification for this haircut. We again reiterate our demand on the president and his government. Pay the cocoa farmer. Pay the cocoa farmer what is rightfully his. The Ghanaian cocoa farmer is worse off and he deserves better. Keep to your promise and not empty rhetorics. Second issue is electricity. The president claims that upon assumption of office, the government has taken away nuisance taxes. We disagree as a minority. What we know practically is that government has rather imposed 1 Ghana cedi per liter of petrol that we buy at the pump. They introduced what we call Dumsor levy, the energy sector reform levy, Dumsor levy, which they hurriedly passed in parliament. We are aware that when it comes to electricity, they have increased electricity tariffs between 25 to 30%. Even so, in practical terms, households and industries are worse off because they are paying more on electricity and it is biting them very hard. Though on paper, the electricity tariffs have increased by this 25 to 30%. In reality, households are paying more than 100% in terms of tariff hikes. Because if previously an individual will buy 1,000 Ghana cedi electricity for a month, now that 1,000 Ghana cedi can only last for a week, if not less. We are all suffering from this, and the president cannot come to parliament and tell us that they met some energy sector debts. What we are even experiencing is that Dumsor is back. Dumsor is back. Apart from this, we also note that the president was again interested in bureaucracy and nothing about actual jobs created. The NDC has been in office for over a year now. They promised a 24-hour economy, 1 job, 3 shifts. The president could not tell the people of Ghana as to whether or not the government has been able to implement this 24-hour economy. What we rather know is that since this government came into office, thousands of Ghanaian youth who were already employed were dismissed from the employ of state-owned institutions. Some who have been in employment since 2017, 18, 19, and all were all sacked. The 24-hour economy is yet to see the light of day. In fact, one incentive that would have promoted this 24-hour economy is cheaper electricity. So if government is making electricity expensive to consume, to use, how does the government attract investment? In fact, the 1D, 1F policy, since it was cancelled, there hasn't been an alternative policy to drive economic growth. The Ministry of Trade has not announced any policy alternative to boost economic growth through job creation, through more businesses. There is no incentive for the private sector. So I repeat that this government is only fixated on PR rather than serious governance that will create jobs. Galamsey. Today we heard another rhetoric from His Excellency the President that they are fishing for the godfathers of Galamsey. Like seriously, you've been in government for a year. You are now looking for the kingpins of Galamsey. I would want, on behalf of the minority caucus, state unequivocally that this government is not interested in fighting Galamsey. In fact, the Gold Board that they've established, practically what Gold Board is doing is to promote Galamsey, because Gold Board has not brought up any regulation, any blueprint that directs its aggregators to buy genuine gold regularly mined from licensed miners. For them, it's a free for all, and there is no directive on this. Government is not making any serious efforts at fighting Galamsey. So we don't take government serious when it comes to Galamsey issues. Now Mr. President talks about inflation having coming down. Are the inflation ebedi? Are we going to eat inflation? What is inflation on paper when it has no effect in the pocket of the ordinary Ghanaian? If the president is talking about macroeconomic stability, you can achieve stability on paper for the IMF and the World Bank. But the real stability is when the Ghanaian people go to the market and experience lower prices on foodstuffs. But when they are complaining, you cannot use paper inflation to claim credit and ask us to applaud you. We will not applaud the government. We are.
All right, so that was a minority in parliament. The minority in parliament also sorting things out today. Now, away from the minority in parliament, let's go straight to other stories. Let's pick our final beat of story this evening, and right after that, we go to the phone lines to allow you the space to also join us with your thoughts and comments. And our final beat this evening is on the minority. The Ghanaian parliament is debating a bill to change the name of the National Investigative Bureau, NIB, back to the Bureau of National Intelligence. The question you ask yourself, the NDC government has come back and reversing names to their old order. So I'm just waiting now. The Kotoka International Airport is now Accra International Airport. It has reverted back to its name when it was taken off in 1969. Now the next thing is to reverse the National Investigation Bureau back to the Bureau of National Intelligence, BNI, and restructure the country's national security architecture. The proposed Security and Intelligence Agency bill aims to address public confusion between the NIB, National Investment Bank, which shares the same acronym. The bill presented by the Interior Minister, Mutaka Mohamed Mubarak, also seeks to scrap the Ministry of National Security with oversight function exercised through the presidency. The minister argued that this would streamline coordination and prevent institutional conflicts. However, the minority has strongly opposed the bill, describing it as flux, overly centralizing power and lacking safeguards. Minority leader Alex Anafenyo Markins questioned the basis for the changes, arguing that a memorandum accompanying the bill doesn't justify overhaul of the current framework. The majority leader, Mama Ayariga, defended the bill, describing it as correction of historical wrong created by the previous administration. We go back to the floor of Parliament.
We have a situation where you say NIB, people are wondering whether you're talking about the bank or you're talking about the security agents. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the significant things that we are trying to do is to reintroduce the name BNI. But this time, even though the BNI of yesterday was Bureau of National Investigation, this BNI will still remain Bureau of National Intelligence. If you are not careful, you create conflict between a detailed ministerial role and the function of the National Security Coordinator, because it's supposed to coordinate all the activities within the space. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to keep this position as more or less of that of the president, and then he gets one of his ministers to play that oversight without the necessarily fine detailed designation of a minister for national security, so that as much as possible you try to avoid the conflict between the minister and the national security coordinator.
They say it is their direction. So I'm asking, if in 4 years, and it will happen, you are no more in power, we were expecting the new government to also bring a new act to reflect their direction. Is that what we are saying? So you cannot say, Mr. Speaker, that the policy direction for which you are changing the bill is because you want the National Security Coordinator to coordinate the activities. It's already, that is what is being done. And so it will be dangerous for this nation to make that office an agency and say that Parliament shall audit its accounts just like what they are doing to others. I think it's a misplaced priority. If you do that, you will suffer. Take it from me. You will have difficulty because when you need your soldiers to move in 30 minutes to quell an instance, you won't have resources. If the president has a problem of appointing a minister, he should not appoint the minister as he has done. There's no need.
The memorandum before us does not provide any empirical evidence to suggest that Act 1030 has failed. It appears that this bill is more founded on partisan political interest than a national security interest for good governance. What is being proposed? So much power is being given to the coordinator. It is not clear how his powers are going to be fettered. Mr. Speaker, my submission is that if you give such powers to the coordinator and you do not provide for a clear path of responsibility, accountability, and oversight, it becomes problematic to you yourself as a government. And when the rights of citizens are being abused, the man will come and tell you that in the name of national security, there will be the need for the minister to sit with us as a house, do further winnowing, and incorporate the major concerns raised by the minority on this floor.
And for the clients, when they finish, they say, my lawyer spoke the way my lawyer can. Did you see the way my lawyer was talking? The other lawyers in the courtroom know that he said nothing. I have listened to all that my friends on the other side have said, and I cannot hear anything. We indeed cut down the number of ministers. And among the ministries that we decided to guillotine was the Minister for National Security. The fundamental thing about this bill is to revise the existing legislation and take out the imposition of a Minister for National Security. What you did here is to force the hand of a president so that he must appoint a Minister for National Security. It was a wrong thing for us to have done as a parliament. And this historical wrong has to be corrected. And that's what we are doing today. We are correcting the wrongs of the NPP government.
All right, so we went to the floor of Parliament. We're back in studios. Now we're taking your calls. You can also join us on 0537 158638. 0537 158638 is the numbers, and share your thoughts with us. Baba Jamal, provisional results is given. Baba Jamal of the Ayawaso East the lead, and he's a champion now, let's get to hear you. Got a few more minutes. Ain't you be a Mr. Media so which me a friend on 0537158638. And then you rate our news focus so na yantwiche in common 0537158638 is the numbers you can also call us, and let's have a tit-a-tat. 0537158638. How it is with you, and then we roll it up, and later in the night we call it tonight. Got a few more minutes, and then I'll shake that hand of departure with you. 16 dead in accident involving ambulance and a Ford Transit at the Port of Chrome in the Ashanti region. Afenyo Markins refers to Privileges Committee over security recruitment allegations. ECG initiates audit of metering system following public outcry. Ayawaso is by-election. We're confident our deployment at the polling centers will cater for any eventuality. Police. I'm not motivated by material things. I'm here to serve. Baba Jamal. Hello, good evening. All right, 9 arrested after customs intercept undeclared tramadol at the Tema port. Ayawaso is by-election NDC will win, and MPP only came to escort as Bandy. Oh my. Well, the initial chiefs have taken majority of the time. We just got few minutes, and then we say goodbye to you. The National Democratic Congress candidate in the Ayawaso East by-election, Baba Jamal, said his political ambition is driven by service, not personal gain. He was speaking to the media after casting his vote at the Alhaji Idrisu house. Hello. Good evening, my brother. We're doing a baby of review. Your name, where are you calling us from?
Mama Basso and Mays. Namentia Nabo Chasa Pasiasidu. Na Meda Ayawaso is for us to say, O Machimatua Banama Baba Jama. Na Eliana MPP Kazetana Tena Oman Kotua Bano, NDC or Mumbo body. Na same MPP no. Nanka samo call Mungro for Nankomokotua Bano, almost not Mosumo Tintino Mosantua Bana Mamana. And the other said, Mama is Papa to Ghana and Ama be a question to and one that was us.
Mention made us say 0537158638, 0537158638 is the numbers. 0537158638. And numbers are also over to me a friend watch Wadri a far. Some idea to and you we will say bye to you in a short while, and then we call it a night. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. But in between time and now, you can call us and let's have this conversation together. 0537158638. And numbers are also between me. A friend now watch Wadri. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Minya. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you turn the volume of your TV set down? Can you turn the volume of your TV set down, please? When you call us, turn the volume of your TV set down. It gives so much feedback and it becomes quite difficult. Another story that was shared this afternoon, a basic school teacher and a farmer reportedly died in a separate incident in Asinfosu municipality of the central region in cases police suspects to be suicide. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, your name, where you reaching us live from?
Okay,
Kwejo Yentio.
Yeah.
Kwejo, TV no volume no on.
Nkofo mahama no da be pa no betua koko akuafo ka. Ipese mi hu.
Okay. Yate. You better show mama. Why? Yo. That's it. Yeah, that's it. 053-715-863 and Mr. Rosa Ofra no ma TV no volume no a brenase. I'm an abba form. Yeah, cause phone so why? Actually, the message media so I've got some few minutes to go. Maybe I can do 1-2 calls and then we go. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, boss. Boss, I'm trying to say.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Sorry.
My TV no volume no come from me. I got a phone so. My TV no volume no come from my near casa phone so that makes it much easier for us to have a conversation here. We got just about 3 minutes. Hello, good evening. Ma TV no volume no anchor from the enkasa wo phone no so offer me now TV no volume no so aye to me income Mr. 0537158638 numbers on which me ma twetwe nkomo ene adwumadi ho news focus tonight live and direct from the 10th Avenue Extension Greater. Say hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother. Your name where reaching us live from?
Thank you. But John doesn't have a program.
But your offer thing your friend was saying.
The referee, the Banner region.
Okay, you sir.
Yo, I'm saying, I make a suffer for the time I buy elections from NDP. I think almost February now, almost 2 years. When after 2024, a election by election, they almost lose here. The man to talk most year, now they are about power.
Benjamin Das, someone Yamre, afraid of that Savannah region, 0537158638 is the number. So you can also join us and let's have this conversation. Let me do my final call, then I can wrap up tonight in Focus, where we'll bring you all the latest stories. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
But you're within the baby of Refi. Question from Takrade, young call, question 60 seconds.
Okay. Master, Ghana for a day higher by using other. And there is other, I do baby know, Amalia, the campaign, or see President Mahama, or any campaign. I say, Ghana, petrol, no, the border, a good for time, a good father, time, what's in the border. Now, Tama, Siciano, or no, Russia and Tapan Sabesi. Is it a petrol also but to petrol? Siciano, Banam Penifunagazano. If we find that kind of crap, Mahamane, by a Kufad one, I can't crap. Ghana is the other. I say, see the Kakra, Ghana Penifun, I say, a kind of petrol use. Now you do see the film Penifun. Because Siciano say, yes, Fukuta. Mahama said, a good for them kind of crunch a gravel. This said, the Kunga good. Never be a mamma today, Kuku Abba. The mother Ziziano, you who the real manifico, Mida Tanangua. Anka, Yanisisa, a Yinaga, so Japan big Ganavo. It's Martin Chairman.
Yo, Yedasi from Takrade, and the man joining us from Takrade is my final call for tonight. And News Focus coming to you live and direct from our studios here. We're also live across our social media handles, MBN360. My name is El Samuels. I want to say a big thank you to my team, my managers, the camera team, the floor managers, MCR, the master control, the PCR, FO, and Sylvester. Not forgetting the man, Mr. Ashite Thompson, and the rest of the team. To my viewers, my callers, my testers, I love you. I really appreciate all of you. Make a day with me, same time. Tomorrow, 9 p.m., I'll be back with more. Stay blessed and say a prayer with every heartbeat. My name is El Samuels. To God be the glory. Have a good night.